Welcome to the Strong Casuals podcast, where myself, Ben, and
Anthony
go ahead and talk about strength sports. Sometimes we'll talk about strongman, arm wrestling, powerlifting, grip strength, all
the grips.
all the grips, all the strength related.
If you're
things.
gripping,
We're talking.
We wanted to sit and talk about it every so often, and neither of us are competitive athletes.
no,
Well, at least not in professional sports.
in my mind.
Yeah, someday, man. So please understand that we're coming from a context of a fan. We are fans. We are fan boys.
Yes, feel free to critique, but you know.
Yeah, it's the internet, so whatever. Say what you want. But we're just here to talk about sports that we love. And we're not experts. We're not historians. We just like the sport.
Yeah, and nobody really talks about it, so we just wanted, a platform to do so.
Yeah, so we're gonna go through, and each week we're gonna talk about strongman or arm wrestling or both, depending on what happens. Do a little recap of what's going on in the world. Talk about ourselves a little bit if we're doing fun things, and then at least give some information about what's happening in the world, so people can stay up to date, and hopefully grow the sports.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice.
So,
World's Strongest Man.
World's Strongest Man. I mean, I guess the very brief context, World's Strongest Man, as it's named or as it's branded, has been around since 1977. At the very beginning, it was just basically dudes coming in from powerlifting, and they were set up to do some wild things, some feats of strength. Definitely had like a circus sideshow kind of vibe to it. Still does. And then over time, the sport has just grown. The events, we'll talk about the events that were in this year's. The events have sort of narrowed down into a group of them that you can expect. And then it's just every year, once a year, we pit, was it like 30 guys up against each other and see which one can complete the tasks, either the heaviest or the fastest or the most.
Yeah, like World's Strongest Man, obviously, growing up in the 90s, it was when it was sponsored by Metrics, which I don't even know. Like you said, I think you said Metrics is still around. I'm assuming it's still around.
In some capacity, I think. I'm not totally opposed.
But that's when it was on TV, and it was on ESPN all the time, and you would see it all the time. And now it's just interesting. We're 20 years down the road, and there's still no televised action. Luckily this year we only have to wait like a month, 30 days until we actually get to air it. So we were only able to follow the World's Strongest Man through just the online website. While it was happening, just the online website, technically.
Right. And I mean, I think another, we'll probably talk about it 100 times in this podcast, but one of the ongoing issues in World's Strongest Man is it's not a huge sport, and that means that it doesn't get a lot of real-time live coverage. So right now it's not going to make it to TV until May. So it happened already, in late March or whatever.
Yeah,
Early May, beginning of May.
Yeah.
So we gotta basically have to wait a month now. It used to be we had to wait till Christmas, and in the UK, I think you still have to wait till Christmas, but you used to have to wait all the way until December to see the thing live. So that'll be. I mean, that's an ongoing issue. The situation is that the rights to the name of the brand, they get paid. They get paid to sell all the footage to CBS, I think, and they just can't make enough money to stream it yet, and the sport itself doesn't have enough viewership to do it live.
I mean, it's a massive issue in the sense that the excitement about strongman is the suspense of the event. To watch the event live and seeing it. And I mean, I get it. Back when there was no TVs, that's what you did for everything. Everything was just a radio. We don't even have audio coverage. You don't even have audio coverage of it at all. So it's like, it's a whole different experience watching it via stats, because there's no excitement whatsoever, and you just watch the tragic downfall of some strong men just
Then you
Like-
wonder why. You're like, oh, what happened to him?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I think that like I think right now the motivation or the strategy is we're going to put it on TV later, and when people don't have anything else to watch, hey, maybe they'll happen upon
Yeah.
this and watch it and they'll like it. But
I think it'll change.
hopefully that changes in the relatively near future.
I feel, in the state that strongman is, I feel it's more popular than ever. I would think.
I mean, I think it grows every year
In the
I mean,
social
and
media
we gotta
era,
keep
it's
it going.
just it's so it can grow so quickly, and it has in the last, I feel, 5 or 6 years been pretty huge in general, way bigger than it has been from the early 2000s at least.
Yeah, absolutely. So earlier this month, May 1st through 5th, was World's Strongest Man 2024. So the first 2 days, Wednesday and Thursday, are qualifiers. So we start with 30 individuals on Wednesday and Thursday. There are qualifying events to determine who gets to go on into the finals. Then they take a break on Friday, and then you get your finals on Saturday and Sunday. So this year, the qualifying events, so these are, step back. All 30 guys are put into 5 different groups or heats, and then you compete in these competitions against the other people in your heat, the other 6 guys there. And then the top person is guaranteed a trip into the finals. The top 2... the second and the third go to a stone off at the end, which we can talk about later on. But they go to a stone off at the end, and then the person who wins the stone off is the other person to go into the finals. So then in the finals, we end up with one heat of 10 guys, and they participate and compete against each other.
But yeah, we'll get into each event as we go through. So starting with the Webster Stones. So the Webster Stones are 2 large stones, each weighing separate weights. One weighing 300 pounds, one weighing 249 pounds, and you walk it for distance. What is the total distance? Isn't it like, or no? You just keep walking. You go back and forth for distance.
Yes,
right.
The distance is
maximum distance.
Yep.
With 1 drop allowed. You can drop the stones once, pick them up again, and continue to go, and basically until you cannot go any longer.
Yeah, and anybody with some context, these are big stones that have big metal circular rings on them. They're not unlike the Denny stones. So the Denny stones are a famous set of stones that people go and lift. The Denny stones are 400 pounds and 300 pounds. These were 300 and 250. And then the nickel stones, which for those of you in the biz, we saw at the Arnold's, those are 304 and 555.
Those are like brand new stones too.
Yeah.
The newest of the stones. Yeah, it's basically all these stones are picture giant rocks with giant ring handles for them to hold.
Yep.
Not padded ring handles, just metal rings, with just probably bashed right into the side of the rocks. And
Yeah.
it looks difficult. It's as difficult as it sounds, and it looks just as difficult.
Yeah, I mean, you stand up and you're pulling the rocks into your shins, essentially, because they want to go down.
If you've picked up anything big from the front of your body, it's like,
Right.
none of this is uncomfortable. You're just banging shins nonstop.
Yeah. Next, we had the deadlift ladder. So instead of having a max deadlift, or instead of having a deadlift for reps, this is a deadlift ladder.
Should we go?
Next, we have the deadlift ladder. So there's 5 bars sitting in a row, spaced out, starting with 300 kilograms or 660 pounds, going up to 380 kilograms, which is 840 pounds. And so athletes have to go deadlift each one of them in sequence, and then there's a 60-second time limit if you don't hit whatever. And so you could get 4 bars, but you could do it in 60 seconds, but you still get those 4 bars. A little different because it's based on some logistics. You got to jump over the bar. You got to put your straps on. Some guys were using no straps at the beginning and then going mixed grip and then going straps. Some guys were doing straps the entire time, but it's kind of it adds some technicality to the deadlift.
It is. It's straight up 5 deadlifts placed one in front of the other, increasing in weight, and you have to just do it as fast as you can in 60 seconds. If you can't do them, you can't do them.
Yep. Sandbag steeplechase. So there's 3 bags. Each of them weigh 120 kilograms or 260 pounds. And this one was a bit different. You had to carry it 20 meters total, but you carried it 20 meters, and then you had to put it over a bar and then move it around, or like go around the bar, pick
Yeah.
the bag back up, and go the rest of the 10 meters.
You could go under the bar, couldn't you?
Yeah, you could go under the bar. And so it's essentially 4 10-meter bouts of carrying with a lift in the, or a bar in the middle, and then you have to set it on a platform at the end. Viking press. Viking press is a. This, I guess
Yeah, what is a Viking?
hard
What
to
makes it a Viking press?
So it's you're standing.
You have to
in
be
front
of
the
Norwegian
implement.
descent.
Yes.
Okay.
They get the most Viking looking dude in the audience.
Techno Viking.
Yeah.
Oh, that would rule.
Dude, Techno Viking. Yeah. So they bring
Everybody-
Techno Viking in.
The Techno Viking press would rule so hard.
Yeah, and then you just walk around
yeah.
with him flexing your pecs. So it's a weird. It's like, so essentially you imagine like a giant wheelbarrow with the one wheel and then the 2 bars coming out from it, and you have to lift it up, but you're standing while you're doing it. I don't know why I'm using my hands. This is a podcast, but like it's essentially you're trying to lift 2 handles above your head. It's an overhead press with a hinge. It's been around a long time. I think this one was a globe Viking press because just put a giant globe on top of it, and then it's how many
It
times.
did look awesome.
How many times can you press the thing? Yeah, that was interesting to watch. A blast from the past, but a good one. They had the car walk in there, which a lot of times I feel like if you see,
This is what I'm fucking talking about. This
Yeah.
is the kind of stuff that I want back in. That's not crazy dangerous. It just aesthetically fucking rules.
yeah, and so in the car walk, you you pick up a car. It's like a giant yoke. So you pick up the car and you walk. It's a 20-meter course. In freedom units, that's 66 feet. And it's
Let's keep it freedom units on this podcast, okay?
Okay, it's 1,001 pounds. It's essentially a 1,000-pound yoke. But there's there's some other things going on. So you walk with the car, and then the most debated part of the qualifiers, which is the stone off. So people in second and third place.
So yeah, we have to say
Well-
not everybody does the stone off.
No, yeah. So the way that this is scored, or the way that all strongman is scored, is you get the number of points based on your place. So let's say there's 6 guys in your heat. If I come in first place, I get 6 points. If I come in second place, I get 5 points. And so you can see how these events map out. You can be really good and destroy a couple events and do really well. You could tank a few events, and sometimes it's okay. But depending on how the points lay out at the end of your heat, second and third place have to go to a stone off. It doesn't matter if they're tied. It doesn't matter if they're 6 points apart. They have to go to the stone off.
So only first and second from each qualifying group makes it to the finals.
Right. But second being determined by who wins the stone off.
Right. So second, if you're second and third going into the final qualifying event, that being stone off, you are at an extreme deficit, and it's probably going to be at a loss for the rest of your weekend, probably.
I don't think there's and we can probably spend an entire episode complaining about the stone off, but I don't think there's a single, from the coverage I've seen, I'm not sure there's a single athlete that likes the idea of the stone off.
We don't even have to get into it because, like you said, I think everybody completely agrees that it's hilarious because so brutal. It's so cruel to the people who are trying their hardest, to get in.
It makes complete sense. There was one. We'll get it when we get to the rounds, but there was one. Second and third place, they were tied. Like, okay, cool, that makes sense. Like, make them stone off.
If they're tied, it makes sense.
But if one of them is points ahead, there's no reason to do it. Mitchell Hooper talked about how it's stupid. He was more eloquent.
Yeah.
But,
well, there's no strategic moves for like second and third place because you don't have to go any harder than third place in theory. You're always trying to get first, but I'm saying say first place is way out ahead. Second and third place, it's like, why am I even trying? I'm already ahead, and I know I'm going into the stone off.
Yeah,
it's
right. No, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
And I think it was somebody was talking. It just artificially selects for people who are good at stones. So this is like people like Tom. Not that Tom is going to be in a stone off for probably the next 15 years of his life, but if he was, he's going to destroy it.
Yeah, he said he wants to do six. He wants to be 6-time. Which that is totally doable.
Well, yeah, he's got to beat Pujanowski.
Yeah.
Because I think Marius has 5. But
Yeah.
yeah, we digress. Okay, so those are the events. So in each heat, 6 guys would go up to against each other over 2 days with these events to figure out who's going to win. So group 1, we went through all the groups already, so we're not going to talk about them. Tristan Hoth took the group.
I told you.
And
I told you these rookies.
I know.
I like we were throwing them to the wayside last time, and it's like these rookies. I just had a feeling.
I owe so many apologies.
Specifically, this man of all the rookies.
Yeah, so Tristan Hoth is from Canada. I mean, I think this World's Strongest Man could be like World's Strongest Man 2024, the Canadian invasion.
I was gonna say never turned down a Canadian.
I mean, Canada is coming in force.
Everywhere. Both Canada, yeah, both Canadian rookies truly showed up.
Well, and Mitchell Hooper put it well. 3 out of 3 Canadians made it in. 1 out of 6 Americans made it in. I mean, Canada's bringing their pancakes.
It's true. So how did Tristan do in each? So his good events. He got first in the deadlift ladder, right? So that was the one with it's 5 deadlifts within 60 seconds, and Tristan finished all 5 in under 50 seconds, 49, which is. I mean, for a rookie coming in, we don't even know who the guy is. We're just like, oh, okay, well.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that, like, we say rookie, but really we just mean has never been a World's Strongest Man.
Yeah,
right?
First year competitor for World Strong, or a WSM rookie.
Right, sure. So, like, it's, he's been competing regionally, or he's competing at other competitions, but this is the first time we've seen him yet. He destroyed that deadlift ladder. It was fun to watch him do it, too.
Yeah, we got to see some video coverage. All of the competitors have social media of their own, and we got to see limited footage. But the stuff that you did see was
great.
It was really good. But
that's what I was going to say about the stone off. Like the stone off, the whole point of the stone off is to build like audience, like for the fan.
I know.
It's for the fans. And yet we can't see it. Like the only people who are going to benefit from the stone off are the people
in person
who don't actually care about the sport and are going to happen upon it on ESPN at the end of the month. And they're going to be like, "Oh wait, this is pretty cool." Like,
I know. Like I'll probably watch it at my parents' house, like if because I like to for my dad because they used to watch it, and I'd be like, "Look, this is it happened a month ago, but look at this. This is good stuff."
Like, oh yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's like you can be in suspense if you have no idea. Just show the senior citizens. They don't know.
Right.
They have no idea.
Yeah. We should take all this to a nursing home.
Nursing homes love World's Strongest Man.
That's what I heard.
That's what I hear.
So Tristan Hoth came in first. Dude came to party. Luke Stoltman took second. But see, again, so Luke Stoltman from Scotland.
No, Eddie took second.
Well, but Eddie was in second place
right, it was a tie.
going into the stone off. So here's a point. But this one's okay. So Eddie Williams, who I owe a giant apology to because I didn't even mention him the last podcast, and I'm sorry, Eddie, I love you. I did mention him. I said that he plays beautiful music, and he does. But going into after the heat, Eddie Williams and Luke Stoltman were tied at 21.5 points. Makes sense. Make them stone off to see who's going to go into the finals. And Luke ended up winning. Luke Stoltman. Brother of Tom has been in the game longer than Tom, but he's a great athlete. I love him.
So that rule, so the way that ended up, it's like so Tristan wins the group, automatically into the finals. He won with 25 points. He won the deadlift ladder. He won the sandbag steeplechase. Took second in the Viking press. Took second in the car walk. Eddie Williams, first in Webster Stones.
Yeah, he destroyed that.
Did he? I didn't get to see anything on it.
If you're listening to this and you have any interest in this, go on any social media and find Eddie Williams on the Webster Stones. It's beautiful.
He just kept going, it seemed like. He just never stopped. I mean, he is 152 feet, which, I haven't looked at the other stats, but I'm pretty sure that was like 20 feet farther than I think anybody.
Yeah, it was over 18 feet more than anybody in any other group.
So Eddie crushed the Webster Stones, second in the deadlift ladder, third in sandbag steeplechase, fifth in the Viking press, but then ended up being first in the car walk, and so that put him with the 21.5. Luke, second in Webster Stones, third in the deadlift ladder, second in sandbag steeplechase, third in the Viking press, third in the car walk. It's so interesting. It's like how much you value a first place or a last place, in some stuff. Like, if I just said that out loud, the seconds and the thirds you would like Eddie has more points, I feel, than Luke, and he doesn't. He's tied up 21 and a half.
Right, because I mean, you have that fifth place. Suddenly, you're going to getting 2 points.
There's
You know,
that's
you're
not.
missing
There's
out
no
on-
points there. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, Luke and Eddie went in to the the only that last event, Stone Off. Luke Stolman ended up taking it. Luke Stolman, Tristan Hoth made it to the finals for Group 1 onto Group 2.
So Group 2 was Mitchell Hooper's group. Those of you that don't know, Mitchell Hooper was last year's World's Strongest Man. He kind of blew up the scene. He came into this whole world relatively recently. He's now on. He took second. Oops, spoiler alert. But he's on his 16th podium. So he's in 16 professional competitions, and he has podiumed all of them.
It's at this point it's like now it's just about his podium streak because it's pretty preposterous when you look at it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that we can talk about this in the finals, but he's going to do good things. And then,
Of course. Andrzej Wojtu.
Yep. So he ended up. This is a situation where he was in second going into the finals. So Mitchell took first in the Websters, first in the deadlift, first in sandbag, second in Viking press, and then fourth in the car walk. But with 3 firsts, that solidifies your shindig pretty quick here.
Yes.
Andre first in the Websters, third in the deadlift, second in sandbag, first in Viking, fifth in car walk. But he went into the stone off with 22.5 points. Austin Andrade, who is a fantastic athlete, lots of
Mexican
firsts.
Eddie Hall.
Yeah.
That's what they call him, the Mexican Eddie Hall.
He's great. He's the first. This is the first time that Mexico's been represented in the World's Strongest Man. He's just a fantastic athlete. I wish him the best. He's going to do great things. I know.
Dude, he's third in his group, and it was an impressive group too. It wasn't
Right, but the thing is, so at the end of the qualifying events, Andre is 22 and a half points. Austin is 20. So I mean, for all intents and purposes, Andre won that should have gone on to the finals. But in the stone off, Austin Andrade won, and so he ended up going to the finals. So
well, that's what I'm saying. It's just like say Wojtu got he could be. There's no point in getting way more points than third place because you're just wasting yourself for that stone off. Like you could be like 6.5 points ahead of third place. You're like, it still doesn't matter. This is dumb. Like, it is a real insane thing.
Yeah, and I mean, like you're saying, it messes with strategy. And I mean, I was watching Mitchell Hooper's recap video, and he was talking about how he had a lot of conversations with Andre about like who's going to take what
I
and
saw
who's
that
going to go where. Which, I mean, I think is interesting. And again, he said, like, we can say we have a plan and then he can do whatever he wants. And that's I mean, they're athletes, right? They're going to do what they're going to do. But I think that just like you're saying, I don't think he expected to then be ahead by 2.5 points and lose the stone off. And, so I don't know. It becomes a bit more of a strategy game.
And that strategy thing is exactly why Mitchell was only, and Mitchell, that's why he was only 4 points ahead of Wojtu, because that's all he needed to be. You know, and they were just, talking with it and just, well, who's going to be... And that's annoying because it's like, okay, so Wojtu strategized the whole time and was doing all this stuff. And then, once again, it comes to a stone off and Austin Andrade finishes him off. And it's just like, well...
Yep.
Hope that plan didn't
So
didn't work out the way we had thought it was going to. So Mitchell Hooper and Austin Andrade went to the finals.
Yep. So Group 3, that was Matthew Ragg came in first.
My boy.
I know, dude. That was impressive to watch.
I mean, he really showed up.
Yeah, he did. A third in the Webster Stones, second in the deadlift ladder, first in sandbag steeplechase, third in Viking, and then third in the car walk. But I mean, he ended the qualifiers at 23 points. Adam Bishop, who eventually wound up withdrawing, but he came in at 20 and a half. So I mean, he was 2.5 points ahead of number 2.
Yeah.
Going into that. Then we had a bit of a funny thing happen with the rest of this. So Adam Bishop should have been in second, should have been in the stone off.
So at the start of the weekend, I thought Adam Bishop was just. I mean, I was like, oh my god, this guy, he's blowing everybody away in his group. I mean, he won the first 2 events, and then I got second in the sandbag, and then it wasn't Viking press that it's believed. He probably tore his. They say he maybe blew his Achilles, but what exactly? I think he said it now. I don't know exactly if it was that.
Honestly, I don't know. Once he withdrew, focused elsewhere. But
Yeah,
it was something with leg.
He said in a small clip, because there's been little things, and he was on the sidelines for the whole weekend. So I think they say he maybe blew his Achilles, is from what we hear. Don't take it to the grave. We know nothing. Okay.
It was his leg.
Yeah.
I know that there was a lot of footage of him in one of those like giant PVC pipes.
I loved it. Yeah, he had like inflatable tires. It was insane.
It was this giant wheelchair, and he just getting
DIY.
pushed around the entire time. But so Adam Bishop pulled out, which means that Ivars and Thomas Evans. So Ivars Smaukstelis, who just podiumed in a giant slab event before this. Yep. That was the one that Luke won. And then Thomas Evans from the United States. So because Adam Bishop pulled out, he was in second. The Stoneoff goes to third and fourth. So Ivars and Thomas Evans stoned off for the thing, and Ivars won.
Yeah, just a real quick, so we'll just go through these guys quick, just because nobody has any idea who these dudes are. So Matthew Ragg is my boy. He's New Zealand. Ben thought he was a fool, and he didn't know who he was. He said he was dumb and he had no skill. And I knew he was going to win his group. And
Mr. Ragg, I love you.
And Matthew Ragg won. And so yeah, we don't know too much about him. He was at last World's Strongest Man, and he, I don't know, he just showed up. But he was doing he did a lot of crazy stuff, I guess, during the off season with and obviously he just really showed up for this, especially for the qualifying round, and won. Adam Bishop from the UK has been just doing it quite a while.
Oh yeah, no, he's a staple in it at this point, and I mean he's a heck of an athlete. I think the thing that the second sentence out of most people's mouth when they talk about Adam Bishop is injuries. I mean, he's unfortunately been plagued by injury.
Is he?
He's one of those. He's an athlete who gives her hell and does what he needs to do, and just has been like taken down time and time again by injuries.
He would have won the group if he didn't have to pull out 100%.
I mean, I think he would have won the stone off.
Yeah,
and gone to the finals. I'm not totally sure he would have beat Matt.
Yeah, maybe not. Well, what? Schmuckstalis, where is what's that flag? Where is he from?
Estonia, I think.
Schmuckstalis.
I'm pretty sure it's Estonia.
Estonia. He's just he's good vibes. Okay,
he's a great guy.
She was like really good vibes.
Yeah, and he made it in the finals, so we'll talk about him again. But
yeah, so Schmuckstalis beat
Latvian. My sincerest apologies to both Latvia and Estonia. So that's interesting though, because Martin Slicis competes for the United States, but he was born in Latvia. So
maybe Schmuckstalis secretly has dislikes him.
They got to bring back that Latvian power.
That's true. And Thomas Evans was in the stone off with Schmuckstalis. Thomas Evans, former Green Bay Packer. And lost in the stone off to Schmuckstalis.
Right, so that put him in the final. So Group 3 was Matthew Ragg and Ivars.
Yes, on to Group 4. So
Group 4 was Evan Singleton. This is the group
what
that
happened
I called
here? Yeah.
perfectly from our last ranty podcast.
Yeah.
Was
this one made sense on paper. It really did.
I mean, Evan Singleton, I think his biggest thing is, as he would say, letting the T-Rex out.
Yeah, of the cage, and then putting it back in.
But he also burns through energy really fast. And he had a really good conversation with Brian Shaw. So Bobby, and somebody else went to train with Brian Shaw a couple weeks before World's Strongest
Trey
Man.
Mitchell.
And Trey went, and he said that Brian told him, he said, listen, you're going to start this competition, which is a 5-day competition. He's like, you start this with a pitcher of energy, and you got to pour it out selectively. And you got to be around physically at the end of this thing. And I think that Evan took that to heart and did what he needed to do to win his group, but then had enough in the tank to do really well and eventually finish on the podium.
Yeah, with guys like that, when they're just pure explosion, it's like you can only do it so many times until you run out of explosives.
Yeah. Literally, in his case, he's a lot of content of him shooting things.
Yeah, that too. Too. Yeah.
And then it came down to Pavlo Kordiaka, which I pretty much I knew that was going to be.
Pablo is just like
number 2
at Pablo events. He's just truly maybe when you look at the man that is Pablo Kordiaka and you watch what he does, could be the most impressive things you see all strongman weekend. I mean, he just does things in his events that he's built for. It's like you would never think the stuff he does on Conan's Wheel, the stuff he does, in the Sandbag Steeplechase. The Sandbag Steeplechase actually makes sense because he's built kind of like a Super Saiyan 3 CrossFitter.
Yep. I
Like,
would say that's a good assessment.
Yeah, and Pavlo, and I don't even remember who was in. Do you remember who was in third place for the group?
I know that. So he obviously won the Stone Off, and I do know that. Like, I don't know what role this played. Some of you who've been tangential in the biz might know about Novikov. So Novikov, World's Strongest Man 20 something. This is also from Ukraine. So Pavlo is from the Ukraine, and Novikov is from the Ukraine. And I know Novikov was there. And I have to imagine that he was helping him out, maybe just with some strategy and trying to be in there. But it's nice to see people from the Ukraine succeed. And it's nice to see. I was just really happy that Novikov was there. I love that guy. And I'm just really
Alexei
happy.
Novikov, that's right.
Yeah. And I was just really happy that he was there and sort of helping people out.
They really do. I don't think. Does Pablo have a mustache, right? Otherwise, they look the same.
They look very
They
similar.
both don't have mustaches, but they have the full beards.
They did, yeah. And I mean, Novikov, before he won World's Strongest Man, I mean, a lot of this stuff is, obviously, we get it from social media, et cetera.
Yeah, 2020.
Dude, 2020. The dude, just ballooned in a good way.
I wish I could balloon in a good way.
Right? Dude, put that...
Come on, man.
I don't even know what that means, but yeah.
Come on, man.
Okay, so Group 4...
Evan Singleton and Pavlo Cordiaca out of the finals.
Yep, and then...
They crushed. They absolutely crushed. Ben, you said it. You knew that was a pretty straightforward group.
Well, I think that was the group with... I could look it up, but I think it was the group with... oh, man.
That guy?
Rauno Heinle. Who I was expecting to see a little bit more of a battle. More of a battle. I just really like Rauno. So I was kind of hoping he would do more,
I would love to see a battle, but you can only see...
He's been in it forever.
Yeah. Well, you can't see any battles in stats.
Yeah,
it's the worst battle I've ever seen.
I know. We'll probably come back to this 1,000 times, but literally... We were just sitting refreshing a page for 5 days.
It's like playing Risk in Microsoft Excel.
Yes.
It's like zero fun is to be had.
Yeah, a shared workbook file, and everybody's highlighting squares.
Yeah, dude.
Like, oh my god, I can't believe that happened. And then you hear about withdrawals as they're happening,
and it's so depressing. It's just like,
well, you always wonder what happened to that guy?
Yeah, you see a point total. We'd update. World's Strongest Man was giving out live updates. Now, when I mean live updates, it was pretty good. It was pretty on once everybody posted a score to an event, they would update it. But it's just it's like you would see somebody with a super low score that we would not have foreseen.
Right.
It was either, a first-year WSM guy, or a lot of the times it was an injury. There was 5 or 6 injuries a weekend.
Let's cover Group 5 and then we'll look at injuries. So Group 5 was Tom Stoltman's group. If you're at all tangential to this world, you know about Tom the Albatross Stoltman. He's Luke Stoltman's younger brother. He's kind of blown up the scene. This is World's Strongest Man number 3 for him. I should say winning the 3rd time.
Yeah.
We knew he was going to take the group.
Do you know how many actual Strongest Man events he's been in?
I don't know that off the top of my head. He definitely competed the year before, so I think this might have been... he might be in 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I'll find out. So, continue, sorry.
So Tom, 2nd in the Webster Stones, 2nd in the Deadlift Ladder, 1st in the Sandbag Steeplechase, 1st in Viking Press, 5th in the Car Walk. I am 100% sure that all of this was strategized by his coach, who is the least looking strongman individual on planet Earth.
When I showed my fiance, who is strongman coaches, she's like, that could be...
Yep.
You know who it looks like? It looks like what Gavin Bilton looked like when he was 17.
Just with less of a gut.
Yeah.
We love you, Gavin.
Yeah. What's his name?
You're gonna listen to this.
Yeah. Gavin, you're not listening. You're an old wise man. You don't need to listen. There's nothing here for you. What's his coach? What's Tom's strongman coach's name? It's like Dave or Pete or something. He has gauged ears. He looks a little bit like Ben, I'm going to be honest. He looks a little bit like Ben if he was a little more burnt out, but just is not actually burnt out, just looks that way.
Yeah, he's got this sort of pseudo-Euro mullet thing going on.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, he's a good dude, and he's super smart.
He's very smart. He knows what he's doing.
Dan Hipkiss.
Coach Dan.
I think that's him, yeah. But I mean, he's a really smart guy. He's obviously doing what he's supposed to because Tom is destroying things. Tom's just a really great guy, really strong guy. He took the group. The Canadian invasion continues.
So this was Tom's 6th World's Strongest Man.
Okay. So he's taken 3 out of 6. That's a pretty good.
2 second places and a 5th in his first one.
Yeah, I mean, that's
2017, 2019, missed out 28. Skipped 2018. Yeah, but he's been here ever since.
I mean, yeah. I think we'll talk about this in the finals, but I think the legacy of what's his nuts is being infringed on. Okay, so number 2, Wesley Derwinski. So another Canadian.
Yeah, so
the Canadian invasion continues. He did amazing.
He really did.
3rd in the Webster Stones, 1st in the deadlift ladder, which was amazing. That dude hopped through that like none other.
Was he the one who used no straps at all? Somebody finished all 5 with no straps at all and didn't even care.
I didn't know.
Yeah, I saw there was somebody with no straps, just okay, well, running through it. But he was a second.
That's an impressive last lift with no straps.
He was a second faster than Tom in the deadlift ladder. Tom came in second for that.
Yep. So, and I mean, 13 reps on a Viking press is nothing to. What's the phrase? Shake a something at.
That's nothing to.
And then second in the car walk. Though I skipped over him and I feel bad. I want to mention that really quick. Rob Kearney. This is his last.
Oh yeah.
This was his last world's strongest man.
He did retire,
and he took 1st in his group in the car walk, and that was the last event. And I've tried to get as much of his content as I possibly can, and I know that he was very happy, as was everybody.
Of course,
that he finished on a high. He beat everybody else in his heat in the
event.
And then he received the Kanak whatever award.
The Tools of the Trade award or something like that.
Yeah,
I think that's what it was called.
Well deserved. Fantastic athlete. Gave a lot of hope to like shorter strongmen around.
Yeah.
And yeah, just a great guy, and it shows the support in this competition or in this sport. Everybody supports everybody.
When somebody's universally loved, they're pretty universally loved, and it's impossible to hate a guy like Rob.
Right. And then when you have a sport where there's like legitimately less than 20 professional athletes in the sport, like you kind of have to get along.
Yeah. There's no need for feuds.
Just kidding. Okay, so those gentlemen moved on into the finals. So the finals are scored the same way, except now it's out of 10 points. So if you get number 1 or first place in the event, you get 10 points. Number 2, 9, etc. The finals events were number 1, the Giants medley. So this is we had a 1,000-pound yoke, a 700-pound frame.
Frame carry.
Right, so you had to carry the frame. And then the course length was 40 meters. Sorry, freedom units, 130 feet.
Yes.
66 feet for each implement. Time limit at 60 seconds. So a brief fun fact about that, Evan Singleton said that prior to the athletes meeting, they were told it was going to be an 800-pound frame carry.
Uh-huh.
And then they all found it was 700 pounds.
Yeah.
And Evan was pumped about that because he was like, well, I've been practicing speed runs with 700 pounds.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty into that.
Yeah, no, that's a good correction for the strongman's case, at least.
Yeah. And I don't know if we have to go this deep, but like, I mean, a yoke is a, imagine like like you're going to squat. You put the bar on your back and you lift up a giant frame, essentially. And a frame carry is you're picking up a giant square off the ground with a bunch of weights on it.
Yes, think of the yoke. You're carrying it on your back and shoulders and walking fast with it. The frame, you're just carrying it with your hands, and you stand. Your body is within the frame.
Yeah. Next was a max axle press. So axle press is a thicker bar. You usually bring it up to about your like mid, above your stomach.
You're supposed to throw it on your gut. Yeah. Okay, that's where you need it to be.
I don't know when this was, but there was a huge. It's probably still a controversy, but people were talking about whether or not you should be able to use your belt as the like shelf that you put the axle on. So so you basically like
I've seen that too.
Lift it to the belt, then readjust your hands, and then press it from there.
I've lifted stuff and placed it on my belt, used my belt for sure, for sure.
Yeah, so I think it's fine.
It totally makes sense.
But I mean,
Checks out.
You got people like Gavin. Again, I love you, Mr. Bilton, but like that dude has a shelf.
Yeah.
That man has a gut
Yeah.
to end all guts.
Trey Mitchell's got a gut.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people. The power guts
strong men,
rule.
man. The power guts are amazing. And
You know?
I have a gut. I'm not sure it's a power gut, but
No.
So max axle press. How heavy can you lift? Next was a keg toss. So this is a classic strongman event. You have a keg. You throw it backwards behind you over a bar. The kegs are 33 pounds. And then you get 3 attempts at each height, and then they just crank the height up as high as they can until you get the kegs over. Or if you get the keg over. The Conan's wheel, another blast from the past. It's
all the way back to Conan the Barbarian times.
yeah, it's a little different from the film Conan's wheel, and it's also different from the Rogue Invitational Conan's wheel, because this one you have to lift up. So
Yeah.
it's like imagine the long hand on a clock spinning around, and you have to pick it up, and it's weighted, and then you have to walk in circles, and to see how
You have to
far
move
can
the
get.
clock hand, and that clock hand weighs, what did it weigh?
500 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's how many degrees of turn that you can turn it.
Yeah.
The tire deadlift, which is basically just a deadlift for reps. It's just they have giant tires on it to make it look cool.
Normal deadlift bar, 825 pounds, tires.
Yeah, not. It
It
might be a weird
so
deadlift bar, but
cool.
yeah, no, I mean it's sweet with giant tires on it.
Yeah, what kind of a deadlift bar do you think it is? Like,
I don't think it's an. I think elephant bars are longer than that.
that's what I was gonna say. It
I
has
don't think it's an
flex like an
elephant bar.
elephant bar, though. It has a little bit of flex, but maybe
Well,
it's
it
just
looks like it. I don't know.
there's 825 pounds.
Yeah,
so
it
it's
doesn't- it doesn't
I mean, it's
matter.
flexing.
It's-
Period. I mean,
Yeah.
if it was just static, not flexing, I'm like, geez, what's that bar made of?
Vibranium.
Adamantium,
Yes, they saved a little after they made Weapon X.
calcium.
Pure calcium, pure bone.
Well, Ben, you're a teacher. What would pure calcium? What would that even?
Just calcium.
Is that dangerous, or is that potassium only?
I mean, straight potassium is a thing.
That's the dangerous stuff, right?
Calcium is relatively inert, I think.
I have calcium in my urethra.
Yeah.
They're called kidney stones.
Yeah.
That's calcium.
Yeah.
If what's the one you throw in the water and it explodes?
Sodium.
Magnesium. Or sodium. Yeah.
Sodium.
Pure sodium, yeah. Sodium's kept in an oil emulsion or whatever. So if it reads, yeah.
That rules.
I have a story about that. We're not going to tell right
No,
now.
you're good.
And then after the tire deadlift, last and not least, Atlas stones. So Atlas stones are giant cement spheres. There's 5 of them, ranging in weight from 310 pounds to 460 pounds. And then you have to lift them up and put them onto a shelf, effectively.
It's the event. It's the be all end all. Okay, that
Yeah.
decides what's going to happen. You know, that's the end of World's Strongest Man. Is the Atlas Stones.
Yeah, and it's a great event.
Iconic.
It is iconic. That's the right word.
Super iconic, and but I totally agree. Just like epitomizes strongman. It's like
Yeah.
pick up the biggest stone. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not who's the one who pushed it up a hill.
Sisyphus.
Sisyphus, right?
Yeah, he still.
They
is.
need a Sisyphus event.
You just go forever.
Yes.
Until someone dies.
There's actually a show on. We're sponsored by Netflix. There's a show on Netflix called Physical 100,
Yeah.
and it's a Korean show, and it's just 100 random athletes from. They're just trying to show off the best physique. Who
Sure,
has the
yeah.
best physique? So it's just 100 different types of athletes. Spoiler alert. Both seasons CrossFitters win. Spoiler alert. But there's
Yeah,
an
'cause
event.
that's what they are.
It's literally what they do, and they're gonna die early. And they have like all those things. Like they have the one that you hold it above your head. They have the Sisyphus one where you roll it up a hill, and you just had to keep doing it back and forth until like there was like 4 people against each other. They had to push like I forget how much it was. It was probably like 180 pounds, like a boulder up a little hill, goes back down, and then like slowly people would go out. It was insane.
That sounds super fun.
That was a good time. They should do that in World's Strongest Man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it sounds like a stone off, but it could be like a Sisyphus roll off.
Yeah, World's Strongest, like the Atlas stones are fun because just like putting the boulder on the pillar is not like Just think of lifting anything heavy and trying to put it on the highest shelf that you possibly can. It's the worst.
Yeah. Yeah. And historically, there's been people who are very good at it and does very well. I mean, Brian Shaw was like the king
guy.
of Atlas stones before Tom showed up, and now Tom has taken that crown.
It is one of those things where it's like there's a certain archetype of man. Both of them, Tom Stoltman and Brian Shaw, being 6'8", 300-pound, close to 400-pound monster men.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and they do well at it. So after all was said and done, Tom Stoltman crowned World's Strongest Man 2024.
Well, let's go through it. What was?
the
Let's just go through each
Kingdom.
event quick. Giants. It's a Giants medley. Let's go through highlights of what happened in the Giants medley. I think, well, actually, we know, through Mitchell Hooper's social media, the Giants medley is what kind of may have decided.
Yeah.
The strong man in the Giants medley, like we were talking about. There's the frame carry and there's the yoke carry. So the frame and the yoke, a lot of these implements are used for strongman events, and they continue to be used for strongman events. So the handles on the frame, which was the 730-pound frame, was like all, it's rusty, it's metal, it's gritty.
Well, it's just, I mean, it's good at sticking.
Yeah.
That's what it did.
And so Mitchell Hooper tore his hands to pieces on this metal frame in the first event of the finals.
Right.
And if you've seen any of Mitchell's social media or, adjacent social media, it's been on some of them. If they've talked to Mitch, it's like he was dealing with it all weekend. His hands, he had he had multiple holes in his hands. Think of, sunburn on your hands, but he had just multiple blisters and calluses that just ripped all over his hands. It was just like straight down to the meat.
Yeah. It looked absolutely
And he's
horrendous.
gluing them shut all weekend and just dealing with the pain. And you could, once again, from his social media, you could see the gluing was a massive painful part too. It's just burning glue right into your, it's just, it looked terrible. And it's insanely impressive that he pushed through and got through that weekend. It's, once again, he said it's what you got to do. But
I mean, so Evan Singleton took first in the Giants medley. He talked about it a bit. He trained it for it and he owned it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
an epic
He's
event.
a quick guy. I mean, he's fast.
have you seen his shoulders?
Yeah, I mean,
You've seen the
he's a
man's
T-Rex.
shoulders? He is built for the yoke and he is built for the frame.
He did, of his own volition, he did mention needing to work on his grip strength. Oh, sorry, no. That never mind. He didn't. He has great grip strength, but he's did really well at all that. What am I trying to say? Oh no, we'll get into that in a second. So
Okay.
Yeah. So Giants, he'd won Giants medley. Yeah, the biggest thing of that event was Mitchell Hooper destroying his hands.
Yeah, it was a massive game changer for the week.
Which really sucked going into max axle. So max axle, you're lifting a giant bar up to your gut, and then
So what is
changing your hands?
It's a press,
and pressing
right?
it.
So it's a press.
But I mean, you have to. You're grabbing onto the bar, and then you're changing your hand placement.
Are you going over under? Are you going over under usually?
Well,
is that what they do for? So the axle,
Yeah.
it's an axle. Think of an axle on your car. All right, it's thicky. All right, just
not that
put two hands together and just grip it up. If you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying, and
Yeah.
that's what you're working with.
And so I know that that definitely influenced his ability there. However, Tom and Mitchell tied for first in the max axle. Mitchell, of his own, he said that he thinks he probably could have gone higher if his hands weren't all screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
This was the year of world records and ties.
Yeah.
So max axle press was a tie. Keg toss was a 3-way tie
For a world record.
for a world record, which is pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
So Wesley Derwinski, Mitchell Hooper, and Tom Stoltman all tied for a world record on the keg toss. That was fun to watch, and I think it was cool that they all kind of got to share that together. They are probably a little bit ticked because they're like, I want.
I mean,
that
a
to be
world
me,
record with
but
3 dudes is like,
yeah, there's got to be a name for that.
yeah, not a world record.
Like, you get like 3 strikes in a row in bowling, it's a turkey.
Yeah.
If 3 people get a world record, it's a
Cancel out.
cancel out. Yeah, no one gets anything.
It's the old record still, actually.
right.
Until the next event.
Whoever had it before was like, yes.
I'm sicky. If you guys can just stop tying, this guy
Yeah.
will, somebody will figure it out. But no, it's cool. Somebody's got to break the other. I mean, they know where they're at, and I don't know exactly what the height, changes every time. I
think
it's very specific. I'm assuming.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly how to do it. But I mean, I think Mitchell didn't really need. I mean, it's nice that he tied for first, but like, I don't think he expected to do that well at all.
It didn't
he
sound like
he
it.
told his family before, and he's like, "I don't think I can do this."
No.
And then he did it.
Well, with his hands, it doesn't seem like he should. But it's like all he needs to do with those hands is just figure out a way to grip it. The strength is going to be there.
Yeah. Well, and he was dealing with some back stuff, and there was
would be
a whole bunch of other stuff going on.
Yeah,
there.
it would be so cool if you could just like see it.
And apparently, in the middle of the keg toss too, so there was some sort of medical event that happened in the audience, and so everybody had to stop for like 20 minutes, and so all the athletes got a little cold, and
There was a mock car crash.
yeah, they brought the jaws of life out, and
They were simulating
there was
a mock car crash.
There was a volunteer fire department that came out, and
The high school from they were doing a local prom thing, and they were crashed in
yeah,
the car.
it was mad.
was-
Moms against her.
There's a lot-
Okay, then the next was the Conan's wheel, which remember, this is not a Conan's wheel in like the movie where he's like pushing it.
No.
You have to lift
and
it
walk.
up, and then you have to walk in a circle. If you watch what little coverage I could get of Mitchell Hooper doing this, for the last like decent portion of the lift, he's holding that entire thing with his biceps.
I know.
It's on his forearms, and he's just like flexing
Yeah.
to carry the thing. So
Yeah, that's where it's
that was
strong.
cool. Giant Rain cans on it, because if you're in this sport, you have to be sponsored by Rain. We're sponsored by Rain.
Yeah,
No,
this
we're
is
not.
kind of bullcrap. Okay, these guys are sponsored by Rain Energy Drinks. How did they not have kidney stones? That's wild. They're the ones who should have kidney stones.
Honestly, we should get a sponsorship by Rain, and then just say it's going to make our podcast twice as fast,
Oh my god,
because that's what we need, is to talk fast.
that is so true. That is so true. We need a little bit more speed. I'll be doing it from the hospital bed because
because you'll
kidney stones.
yeah. So the tire deadlift for reps. So it's a 825-pound deadlift. That was fun to watch.
Real quick,
Oh.
Conan's wheel. Pablo Cordiaca crushed. Absolutely.
yeah.
Did he? Was that a world record or was it? He has the world record already. So
Yeah.
it wasn't a world record, but Pablo Cordiaca has the world record in Conan's wheel, and he absolutely smashed everybody else.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. He did well. He's young too. He's only 28.
He looks older than my father. It's crazy.
Well, these guys are aging a little faster.
Yeah.
Due to some. Oh, never mind. So then we had the
tire deadlift.
The tire deadlift, 825 pounds. Tom Solomon came in second, and my man Matthew Regg, my new man,
That's what I'm talking about.
Matthew Regg came in first. Absolutely destroyed it.
I mean, how many reps did he have? He was like, oh man, I wish we had the rep count.
Well, I think-
lot. He had like a lot. He had like a couple more than second place, I thought.
I mean, I think he was at least. Was it 8?
Because
I don't know.
Tristan and Tom, yeah, he had 8 and they had 7, I think. Tristan and Tom. Maybe it was just one more. Matthew Regg, though, I'm telling you, man, this guy.
I'm very excited.
That is an insane.
Not that it wasn't before, but
Right.
oh wow! Like the dude is, he's relatively young. I mean, relatively young, 28. I mean, he's got nothing but potential. I mean, I think that's kind of the moral of the story for all these guys. Yeah, Matthew Ray got 8, but
Yeah.
I think it's the moral of the story for all these guys. Like they're young, they're ready to start and go. And then last was the Atlas Stones, and I mean, I can't imagine being Mitchell Hooper going into the final, not the final, but going into where their standings were after the
Yeah, because
tire deadlift
everybody
and
does
being
Atlas
like-
Stones. Unlike the Stone Off, everybody does Atlas Stones in the finals, right?
Yeah, and I mean, Tom is where Tom was placed going into this last event. You just know. I mean, Tom has to
An
have
absolute-
a catastrophic failure to not destroy.
And it needed to be a real tragedy because I think going into Stones, I believe Tom was 5.5 points ahead or something like that, and it was just Tom would need to fall at the first stone, fall over and on the ground, and be
Yeah.
crushed by the stone for something to happen.
Yeah, and honestly, like it's not only an iconic event, but it's the last event. So you
Yeah.
know these guys are tanked. They've gone through 5 days of the most intense stuff they've probably done in a long time.
So it's like,
and-
where's the last bit of strongman in you to like do the Atlas Stones? You're like, great, thank you so much. I have to
Right.
lift these giant rocks and put them on these pillars.
Right. So Tom Solomon came in first, representing the UK from Scotland. Mitchell Hooper came in second, representing Canada, and then Evan Singleton, Evan the T-Rex Singleton, repping the U.S. of A. Came in third.
Only beat Matthew Ragg by a half a point.
I know. I mean,
That's insane. I did not know the race for third was that close. Because, between third and second, there was an 11-point gap and 6.5 points for the first and second point gap. I mean, it was, like I said, that Mitch messing up his hands at the start of the finals weekend was just... it was a real foreshadowing to what was to come. Kind of, you can't do anything about it. He was, he said it. Mitch said it himself. He's like, it's something you got to work on. It's like you can't just come to World's Strongest Man with stronger hands. It's like you can't really do anything about it. If the implements just rip you up, they're gonna rip you up.
Yeah, and I mean, he'll work on it. He's already basically healed.
Yeah,
it was a matter of that happening at that time.
Of course, no, you don't need it to. If it was 5 days ago that happened, he'd have been fine.
Yeah, and I think but he did. I mean, he said of his own. I mean, he said that he needs to work on his grip strength, and I think he will. And I mean,
me and you could go on for days about grip strength. Before we even talked about arm wrestling or strongman, it was like
the
just
last
grip strength videos.
I think the my two take homes are number one, the Canadian invasion, and number two, Tom's amazing.
Yeah,
but Mitchell also is just a great. He's very. I feel like he's mentally where you need to be. He's like, listen, I got second. People are like, I should be pissed. And he's like, no, dude, I'm on a 16 competition podium streak. I took second. Things didn't go my way, but based on my,
I think people being undefeated is like really, it can affect your psyche in general. There's just the amount of pressure on a human being after, winning so many events and expecting to win every single event, every single comp. It's unreasonable to assume that it's going to happen. That you're in, especially the events that these guys do, like that literally change who you are as a human being after doing one of the events. It's like to say that your body is not going to react in a negative way or something crazy is going to happen for a 5-day thing is it's unreasonable to ask. It's going to happen. That's why there's so many. That's why it's exciting because there's so many different things that can happen.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So. For those of you wanting to pay attention, moving forward, the next event is the England's Strongest Man and Britain's Strongest Woman. So that's happening on June 22nd. That's a Giants Live event, which means it's streamed.
Is that what it is? Okay.
So you can go to giantslive.com. You can stream this event. We will have, I hope, in the future, we're going to cover more.
Female strongman.
Yep.
The women's strongman is blowing up now. They're
amazing.
The UK women are crushing, but
that's England strongman. The next strongman competition we'll expect to see sort of international representation is the Strongman Classic, also a Giants Live event. It's happening July 13th. That will also be able to be streamed, unlike all these other things. So you can stream those off their website and watch them moving forward.
Yeah, that's gonna be. We got some good events coming up.
Yeah, and just always remember.
I'm the champion right here.